All right, let's talk about the role of the police in a criminal case. When a crime happens, what exactly do they do? It's not just what you see in the movies. It's actually a super structured process, a journey with really specific legal steps. And today, we're going to walk through that entire path, from the moment a crime is reported all the way to the prosecutor's desk.
So, picture this. A crime has just been committed. The police show up, they tape off the scene, but then what? What's the very first official thing that has to happen? What's the legal trigger that kicks the whole justice system into gear? That's what we're digging into right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the big picture, where police fit into the justice system. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, how a case actually starts. After that, it's all about the investigation, gathering evidence. We'll also cover the big actions, arrest, search, and seizure. Then we'll see what happens when they wrap it all up and hand it over to the prosecutor. And to finish off, we'll even touch on the special units that handle those really big, complex cases.
All right, first up, police and the justice process. Before we get into the details, we really need to understand where the police fit into this massive machine we call the justice system. It's all about context.
So, think of the entire criminal justice system like a long, connected chain. Well, the police, they are link number one, the very first one. Sure, their day-to-day job is about keeping the peace, but when a crime happens, it's their investigation that actually forges that first link. Everything that comes after, the prosecutor, the courts, the whole shebang, it all starts right there.
Okay, so if the police are that first link in the chain, how is that link actually created? Well, funnily enough, it doesn't even start with the police. It starts with an ordinary citizen.
Right. So how does the case officially get started? You might think it's the emergency call, but that just gets the police to the scene. To actually kick off a criminal case, a really specific legal step has to happen, and it all boils down to one thing: a formal complaint filed with an inquiry officer.
And this process is super important. The law is really strict about it for good reason. Let's break it down. First, the officer has to accept and write down the complaint. They can't just turn you away. Second, they have to read the report back to the person making it, and then you both sign. This makes sure the story is locked in and accurate from day one. And finally, you, the person who made the complaint, get a copy. It's all about creating a clear paper trail, making sure everything is transparent and accountable right from the get-go.
And this quote here really captures the spirit of the whole thing. The investigation must be conducted swiftly, continuously, and fairly. Now, that's not just some nice-sounding phrase on a poster. It's a legal requirement. It's the core principle that's meant to guide everything the police do, creating that tricky balance between getting things done fast and making sure everyone's rights are respected. Okay, so the report's been filed, the clock is officially ticking, the case is open. Now we get to the part we all think of when we hear police work, the investigation itself. Time to gather some evidence.
Honestly, you can think of investigators as puzzle builders. Their main job is to take all these scattered pieces and build a clear picture of what happened. And the puzzle pieces, well, they're all the different kinds of evidence. You've got witness testimony, physical stuff from the scene, documents, photos, and of course, expert opinions from forensics. Every single piece they collect helps fill in another part of the picture.
So as those puzzle pieces start to fit together and a clearer picture of a suspect starts to form, the police might need to take things to the next level. And that brings us to some of their most serious and powerful actions: arrest, search, and seizure. But here's the thing. These powers aren't a free-for-all. They are heavily regulated. The general rule, the default setting, is that police need a warrant from a court to arrest someone. But there are exceptions. The law recognizes that sometimes things happen fast. So if they catch a suspect literally in the act, or if they have a really good reason to believe the person is about to bolt or get rid of evidence, they can make an arrest without one.
And it's the exact same logic for searching a private space, like a house. The warrant first rule is king. That's the standard. But again, just like with arrests, there are those emergency situations. For example, if an officer hears a scream for help coming from inside a house, they don't have to wait for a warrant. They can go in right then and there.
And listen, the legal protections don't just vanish once the handcuffs are on. The law is absolutely crystal clear about this next step. After an arrest, the person must be brought to an inquiry officer right away. And this isn't just about filling out forms. It's a critical safeguard. It gets the arrest on the official record and makes sure the person's rights are front and center from that moment on.
Okay, so the investigation is done. Maybe an arrest has been made. The evidence is all collected. Now the police get to their final, super important job in this whole process, wrapping everything up and getting it ready for the handoff to the prosecutor.
And all of that hard work, every interview, every piece of evidence, every lab report, it all gets bundled into one massive, critical document. It's called the investigation file. You can think of it as the case's official biography. It's the whole story from A to Z with all the proof to back it up.
Now, based on everything inside that file, the lead investigator has to make a call. They form a professional opinion and give a recommendation to the prosecutor. And they basically have three options. They can say, yep, we think you should prosecute. Or they could say, nope, we don't think there's enough here. Or in some really tricky cases, they can just present all the evidence, including the conflicting stuff, and say, look, this is a tough one, you make the final decision.
And this right here is the moment of the big handoff. It's a perfect example of the separation of powers in the justice system. See, the police's job is to investigate the facts and make a recommendation. That's it. But the ultimate decision, the one with all the power, the choice to actually press charges and take someone to court, that belongs to the prosecutor and the prosecutor alone.
Okay, before we finish up, there's one more piece to this puzzle we need to talk about. Because, not all crimes are created equal. Some are so big, so complex, that they need a whole different kind of response from specialized agencies.
And for these mega cases, Thailand brings in the specialists. You've got the DSI, which takes on huge organized crime rings. Then there's the NACC, which investigates corruption at the very top of government. You have AMLO, the agency that follows the money trails in massive money laundering cases. And of course, the ONCB, which focuses on taking down major drug trafficking networks.
So why have these separate agencies at all? Well, it's because they're given special powers and can operate across the entire country. They're built to tackle these huge systemic problems, the kind of stuff that a local police department just doesn't have the resources or the authority to handle.
So after all that, what's the main thing to remember? I think it's this. The police's role in a criminal case isn't just guesswork. It's a very clear, structured journey. It's a step-by-step process of finding facts, and every single one of those steps is guided by the law, from that first crime report all the way to the final handoff. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on, right? We've seen how the entire justice process kicks off with the police. They start the engine. But that just makes you wonder, where does this road actually end?
And that is a story for another time. Thanks for joining us.